Now, other scopes to consider. So the Leopolds, the Swarovski Z3, Z5, Z6, Z8 scopes. Those are beautiful scopes. Sell them all the time. The advantage of the Z3s and especially the Z5, the 3.5 to 18 by 44 in particular, that scope is a 1 pound scope, 16 ounces.
Super
You
light.
can do some incredible setups with that when your goal is to reduce the weight of your system. But there's one serious caveat and caution that has to be said. And the way their zero stop works, it limits you to just under one rotation. So if it is a Z5 or a Z3 or a Z5 scope, it doesn't matter what you do, short of removing the zero stop, which isn't recommended. But with the zero stop engaged, you get 13.5 MOA maximum to play with. And so that right there limits you to about between 600 and 700 yards for most calibers with the 200-yard zero. So 1,000 yards is not possible with that, with a Z5 rifle scope, which is a bit of a tragedy, but that'll change in the near future. Z6s and Z8s, you can stretch out more, not because the turret goes further, but because those scopes are mil-radian. They're not MOA. So each click is a third of an inch instead of a quarter. Okay. Leica Amplis scopes, the Amplis 6, they make a 3 to 18 by 44 and a 2.5 to 15 by 50. That 3.5 to 18 by 44 is an incredible rifle scope. I would use that myself. Doesn't have the eye relief of the Leopold, but I love the glass. The adjustment's super crisp, has illumination, all this great stuff. And then Zeiss Conquest V4s. They make 4 to 16 by 44, 4 to 16 by 50, 6 to 24 by 50. Fierce Firearms, that is our number one scope. It's been that way for 3 or 4 years. Basically, it has the guts of a Night Force, so it has an erector system that is repeatable as a Night Force optic. It has superior glass to a Night Force or a Leopold for that matter. Amazing second focal plane reticle selections. And they have utterly repeatable turrets. They're lightweight. They're like, 19, 20, 21 ounces. And they're priced well. And then Night Force NX8s. We sell a metric F pile of Night Force NX8s. Probably more than any other scope. Because of the zoom factor. They use an 8 power, so you got a 2.5 to 20, which is an incredibly universal zoom for like point blank bush hunting to 1,000-yard shooting, and then they make a 4 to 32, okay, which is incredible. They're on the heavier side. They're 29 ounces, but rifles are so light now that doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
like
not anymore.
We're doing CT Rogues, carbon titanium Rogue, 300 PRC 20-inch with that, and it's like 7 pounds, I think 13 ounces. Still very light, under sub 8 pounds. Now again, there are many other optics out there. These are the ones that have been bomb proof for us. Okay. There's one other optic. There's a couple of others that I'll mention. The Sig Sauer BDX scopes. They make a 3 to 18 by 44 and a 2 to 12 and a 5 to 30, but that 3 to 18 by 44 again is kind of the penultimate zoom range. And the ballistic compensation system in it works flawlessly if it's set up correctly. I'm not going to get into the specifics of all that, but it's definitely one to look at. And there's a new scope by Burris. It's called the Veracity PH. Currently, it's a 4 to 20 by 50. They have so the original one, the 4 to 20 by 50, the Gen 1 doesn't have an illuminated reticle. The new ones that are going to be out later this year, they make a 2 to 12, a 3 to 15 by 44, and a redo of the 4 to 20 by 50 with an illuminated reticle. Those scopes are nothing short of amazing. Okay. Like jumping into it, their first focal plane reticle, it's a very smartly designed reticle. The glass is actually very neutral. I can't fault the glass, but the reason they're amazing is they have one of the most remarkable and effective ballistic compensation systems that's available.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and the prices on them are ridiculous. So like $14.49 for that 4-20 by 50. We've sold a pile of them and we've set them up. They're incredible. They're absolutely incredible. To distill it, when you're looking at like sort of automated ballistic compensation, okay, so a system like the Swarovski DS at like $6,500, the Burris Eliminator, I think most people are familiar with that, or the Sig Sauer BDX, those all operate on the same principle. Basically, you program the ballistics, you range the target, they illuminate a holdover dot. The Veracity PH is different in that same thing. You program it via an app with your custom ballistics. There's a heads-up display inside the scope. It has an anti-can indicator that's very sensitive. But what happens is, as you dial the turret, it tells you the effective distance that you're at. So when it's programmed correctly, someone ranges the target, says 575 yards, you dial the turret, and in the heads-up display, it says until it goes 575 yards. It also gives you the live wind call. So you preset like a 10 mile an hour, like a static wind call. It doesn't do live wind. Nothing does unless you have a Kestrel going. But you put in like a base wind vector. And as you dial out to distance, it tells you in the heads up display what your wind hold is as well. Now, the nice thing about it is that if the battery dies, you still have a functional precision rifle scope. So you can dial the turret for your MOA holdover. Okay. So it's a remarkable scope, does what it does very well at an amazing price. So let's back up a little bit here. Let's get that Tikka at $12.95. Let's get the Burris Veracity at $14.49 with a set of tallies. Holy shit. You have a absolutely accurate to the 10th of an MOA, because it's a digital turret. It doesn't click. So it's very granular in the yardage that it can give you. But you now have a fully ballistic compensating system for like under $3,000.